Right, so this may be just a dolled up version of the regular Chevy Cruze, because this is the RS model, Rally Sport. Comes with front bumper, a rear spoiler, and some black wheels. But I want to look under that and see what kind of car this really is down to the bare bones. But before we thrash the shit out of this thing, let's figure out what makes an RS compared to the regular Chevy Cruze. Obviously, with this being the RS, which stands for Rally Sport, you get a little bumper, a little splitter down here to direct some air. You get fog lamps, which the other one does not, since you know it is a rally car. And I think you get a black grille. That's about it. I'm really hoping that this RS is really going to stand for Rally Sport and not stand for really shitty. But that's what we're here to find out. Obviously, you can see from all the dirt on this thing that the owner really uses it for rally, because that's what this car was built for. But with the little rally package, you also get a little rear diffuser down here with these big ass fins that'll help direct air, you know, while you're flying through the dirt. You get this, I don't even know what shape you'd call that, exhaust tip. You get vents here, but of course it's fake because it's American. And then you get a cool black badge with a little bit of red lining, just so you know that you have an RS. The rear spoiler that comes with it, there's no holes or anything, but I'm sure it does direct some air. It's nothing crazy, but it'll get the job done, hopefully. So as you can see, you got your black wheels, which also help with grip, as we talked about before. And then you got this red stripe here. That adds a few horsepower to the vehicle, since it only comes with 155. You got some decent brakes, bigger than I thought they were going to be, but we'll see how well they stop from 100 miles an hour. Just kidding, we're not going to do that. This thing probably takes a long time to get to 100 miles an hour. I like the wheel. The wheel pattern's not bad. Nothing crazy, but if you're going to pay an extra 900 bucks for the RS, you better get some fucking black wheels with it. 900 bucks and you can have an RS, dude. You have a completely different vehicle for 900 bucks, obviously. So, just for some added grip. This is a very small 1.4 liter inline 4-cylinder. It makes 155 horsepower and like 160 foot-pounds of torque. It is turboed. It's got a tiny turbo on it, probably a turbo that you'd put in like a snowmobile. It's an Ecotech, so this thing obviously isn't meant for big horsepower. I think on average it gets like 28 miles per gallon. On the freeway and highway you can get as much as 50. If you're looking to buy a car like this, I wouldn't recommend buying it if you're looking for horsepower, because this definitely doesn't have it. But this thing does only weigh about 3,100 pounds, so it might feel kind of quick. We'll see about that one. Somebody's put V8s in Miatas. If you could put a V8 in a Miata, be able to put a V8 in there. Might just be sticking out in the dash.
You gotta cut a hole in the middle of the hood.
Just a fucking... Alright, well, not exactly sure how this thing's gonna drive, but let's find out. But before we drive it, let's take a look at the interior. If you've ever been in any modern Chevrolet in the past 5 years, is pretty much the same exact interior. You got some carpet that looks like it'd be the floor mat to mattress firm. It doesn't really feel very good. And then you got more plastic pretty much everywhere. You got a little gray color here, you got some little chrome pieces. It's not a bad place to be, but it's just very generic. It's nothing pops, it's not exciting. It doesn't make you feel like you're driving a special vehicle in any way. It makes you feel like you're driving something that you just rented after you left the airport. You got a traction control button. I don't even know if this thing has enough horsepower to brake traction, but we're gonna find that out. There's not much to say about the interior because it kind of just respectfully sucks. Then you got a back seat for holding people. Just a normal back seat, works well. It's actually decently roomy for the size of the vehicle. Chase, do you want to fill in on how roomy it was?
Not that large of American, but you know, good room.
Pretty roomy?
Yeah.
Like a fat guy could sit back there?
Oh, for sure.
This is where you have it, folks. You can fit a fat guy in the back of a Chevy Cruze.
I do like their steering wheel.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. The button situation is...
I like the little, how it's kind of concave in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
I like that stuff.
Horn works. It's not a big steering wheel by any means. It's a nice little small steering wheel. This is probably the worst part of the vehicle right here. If you want to shift this manually, you have buttons on top, and I don't know how much more difficult it would have been just to make it a regular like slap shift, slapping it forward or side to side. I don't know why they had to go for buttons here, but Jesus Christ. I guess this car does attract pedophiles, so you will see those if you do own it. And sadly, it's slow enough where you won't even be able to get away in time. And they can apparently just get in your car and just sit there. Let's fucking drive this thing. Oh, baby. Oh, man. Oh, man. Holy shit. Since this is a rally car, you know, I'm gonna have fucking mud and stuff kicking up at your windshield, but it might go through your windshield, and in that case, I got goggles on. So that no matter what environment or terrain that I'm in, I'm always gonna be ready. And since they're tinted, they work as sunglasses as well. And these actually come with the Chevy Cruze in the glove box when you buy the vehicle, due to the nature of the car being such a ferocious rally car. What a good word. Oh shit, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Get him on camera. Holy cow, he is mobbing. What is this, fucking 1940? That's a nice WRX. Okay, on a serious note though, I like what I feel and see so far when I'm driving the car. It's very responsive. Like in this area, it's very responsive. It seems like the responsiveness starts to die off and get a little bit more numb as you turn the steering wheel more, which isn't really a good thing at all. But for rally, you know, it doesn't really matter. We're not actually going to take this thing on dirt because it says it's an RS, but it's not actually an RS. I mean, we reviewed a real rally car from factory and we still didn't take it on dirt, so. My dad has a Chevy Traverse, like a 2020 or 2021 or whatever. I think it's a 2020. And it has the exact same engine, and it feels absolutely, completely fucking gutless. It's horrible. But this actually doesn't feel too bad, and I think it's just because it weighs a lot less. Obviously, weight's huge, and so if you can get a car that weighs hardly anything, then you don't need very much horsepower. So far, it doesn't feel terrible on acceleration. Obviously, it's not fast by any means, but it's not as bad as the Toyota CHR we reviewed a few weeks ago, because that one was really low horsepower like this, but it was kind of big, so it also had some weight to it, which wasn't good. It definitely didn't need that extra weight. Let's see what happens when we actually hit a few corners in this. We just passed a car right there, and it didn't really have any trouble getting past the car by any means. And now that I'm actually starting to go through a few corners in this thing, it's really not bad at all. It feels stable. It is like a Chevy Cruze at the end of the day, so obviously I'm not expecting a whole lot from it, but it actually feels nice, and I think it's because of the fact it's a small car. It might look like a guinea pig, but it still gets the job done. Here we go into another corner. The steering's nice. Like I said earlier, it gets a little numb once you start turning it into a little bit harder. But through these slider turns, you have good weight in the steering wheel, so it feels like you're connected to the road, even though it's electric, the steering. The shifter, which is really weird, it's park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then I would assume that the L stands for low. But you have to put it in low in order to use the little manual shifting up here. It's not very good. Sometimes you'll go to push it and it doesn't shift, then you have to push it again. And there's some times where there's about a second delay between when you actually push it and between when it actually shifts. So obviously with like today's vehicles, it's not really up to par. I just would prefer, if you're gonna do an automatic like this, I would prefer that slap shift option. We're doing 65 though. It can obviously take a corner. It's not doing a bad job.
Good run, Mr. Paul.
I was surprised, but when I was doing the flyby before the camera, I was actually getting turbo lag, which I didn't notice it before, because I was usually trying to stay like somewhat high in the RPMs. But yeah, if you flow it low on the RPMs, Definitely some turbo lag. You can't really notice it in the higher gears, but in the lower gears, 100%. This thing, after flooring it a few times, it actually is surprisingly zippy. It's not boringly slow. Obviously it's not super fast, but it's definitely enough to have fun in, I will say that. Suspension feels good though. It's tight, but not super tight. But there's not a lot of body roll when going around corners. It feels relatively stable. The Dodge Challenger that we reviewed, that felt very unpredictable. This feels much more predictable, and it can definitely take a corner a lot better. Beat my expectations. The Chevy Cruze RS is by no means fast. It's not super sporty. It's not a race car by any means, and it's not a rally car by any means either. I am proud to say that RS does not stand for really shitty, but it doesn't stand for rally sport either. Hey, go drive somewhere else. I was surprised. It does feel good. I think for a fun little car to drive around the city and something you can have a little bit of fun with, you know, on a back road, and I think the Chevy Cruze RS is a perfect car for that. You don't necessarily need the RS model, but I will say the RS model does look better than just the regular Chevy Cruze, like LT or whatever the fuck it's called. So yeah, it's a good car. We really appreciate you guys watching. If you stayed to the end, we're trying to put out at least one review, or at most one review a week. If we're gonna review what I think we're gonna review, then it should be a pretty cool car. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.